Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, October 15th, 2013, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the Board and to transact any other business that may come properly before the Board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Friday, October 11, 2013, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, the Town Clerk of Westfield, Alternative Press, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we do a roll call?
Rich Matesic.
Here.
Lucy Biegler. Here. Ann Carey.
Here.
Mark Friedman.
Here.
Brendan Galligan. Roseanne Kerstead.
Yes.
Ginny Lights. Gretchen Olig.
Here.
Mitch Slater.
Here. All right. If you'll join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we go to announcements, and we have only one announcement tonight, which I'd like to do from the podium. Tonight we have a very special announcement because our superintendent, Dr. Margaret Dolan, is being honored as the Union County Superintendent of the Year. The Board of Education, and to be sure the entire district, are thrilled this evening that this wonderful award is being bestowed upon our superintendent. There are several people who will want to join us in congratulating Dr. Dolan. But first, I have the pleasure of introducing our special guests this evening, who will present an award. If you'd like to come up to the podium. As they are coming up, just by way of background, Judith Ratner and Richard Baza. Judith Ratner is president of the Union County Superintendent's Roundtable, the organization which selected Dr. Dolan as the Union County Superintendent of the Year. Mrs. Ratner is superintendent of the Berkeley Heights Public School District and has been an educator for more than 30 years.
I have to say
Joining her is Richard Baza, the executive director of the Association of New Jersey School Administrators, an organization based in Trenton. We are honored that each of you was able to take time out of your busy schedules to attend tonight's meeting. So without further delay, let me turn it over to Judy.
thank you.
Peg, can I ask you to join me, please?
Certainly.
I am so delighted to be here this evening, to be able to recognize Dr. Margaret Dolan, not only for your contributions to the Westfield Public Schools, but also for your undying support of the County Roundtable and your leadership as treasurer and president of that Roundtable Association, and also your commitment to the State Association as an executive committee member. Peg is somebody that when you ask her to talk about her job, she just talks about the students, and she talks about their achievement and also about the achievement of her staff and what great pride she has in the Westfield Public Schools and the Westfield community. So it is with great pleasure and an honor to present you with this award on behalf of all of the superintendents of Union County. Congratulations.
First, I want to say you've been coached well, Mr. President. You pronounced my name correctly. Thank you so much. NJSA, the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, is an organization that represents all of the school superintendents, school leaders in the 21 counties of the state. And it's our goal to move education forward by ensuring the highest quality of instruction for kids. And we're really proud to recognize that your superintendent is doing that for your kids here in Westfield. We think that, certainly I believe, there's no greater honor than when your professional colleagues single you out to say, we think you're pretty damn special. And in this case, the other 22 district superintendents in the county said, we think you're pretty special and we want to recognize your accomplishments in leading the kids forward in your district into the 21st century. But to get this award, it's not just what you do in your district, it's what you do also with your professional colleagues. And as you heard Mrs. Ratner explain, Dr. Dolan has done that here in the county and even extended that leadership to work with us at the State Association to be on the executive committee, where we're looking out for the interests of kids throughout the state, and so we value her input and contributions. There are two quotes that when I do seminars on educational leadership that I think are really instructive about effective leadership, and I'd like to share them with you right now. The first is by Helen Keller. Helen Keller said that the most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight but has no vision. And the second that complements it is by Warren Bennis, who is a noted author and educational specialist. He said, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. And so we can recognize here that Dr. Dolan's done just that. She's done an incredible job to shape that vision, but most importantly, to put that vision into effect for the kids here. And so you have a clear vision, and you've worked hard, and you have a record of accomplishment. And so I'm very proud to share, not only for your Union County colleagues, but for superintendents throughout the state. Say thank you so much for representing us so well and doing the great things that you do for kids. Congratulations.
So thank you very much for the kind words and also the recognition. I really, in my view, this recognition is truly for the Westfield Public Schools because year after year, we have a record of success as a public school district. And as a public school district, we welcome every child whose family lives in Westfield, every single child. We don't have an entrance exam. We don't ask about family background. We don't ask if they have special talents in sports or in fine arts. Every child is welcomed. And as a result of that, we have a great wealth of diversity in our schools. We have students who practice every religion on earth, every major religion. We have students who are of every race. In the homes of our students, there are dozens of languages that are spoken as first languages. And many of our students come with unbelievable strengths. But we also have students who come with very significant disabilities. But it doesn't matter because if you live in Westfield, if your family lives in Westfield, our doors are open and you arrive. And when you arrive, we see you where you are as educators, and then we work with you to make sure that you receive your potential and you achieve your potential. And you always have to, and my Board of Education always reminds me, you always have to assess, are you succeeding? Are you succeeding in your role? So one quick way to judge that, not a complete one, Board, but one way to measure that is, let's look at our class, our Westfield High School class of 2013. Now remember, the doors were open in all of our schools as those students joined us. But at the end of 12th grade, over 99% of our students graduated last year. Over 99%. And over 95 of those students right now are furthering their education. And the vast majority of those students are doing that in four-year universities. The reason why we do have this success in Westfield, in my view, is due to the adults. And when I talk about the adults, I really will start with the whole community, because Westfield as a community has supported education for years, year after year, in very many ways. And they value education. And one way that is shown, actually, is year after year, we have community members who, most of whom don't have anything to do in their background with education, but they volunteer to serve on a board of education. And they spend endless hours making sure that the tradition of excellence continues, and endless hours trying to make sure that we are better and that we're preparing students for the future. And then we have the parents who support their teachers and their schools and their children, very importantly their children, and do everything possible to help their own children as well as others. And then there is everyone who works in this district. Now in this district we have several hundred people who work in the district. And regardless of anyone's title, when we are hiring, everyone who works in hiring, sure, we're looking to make sure people have the right experience and the right education, the right certifications, but we're also asking questions to make sure that each and every one of those people, whatever their title is, that they understand our work is work with children, and their commitment has to be to those children, to making those children learn and grow, and to understanding that those children need role models as they learn and grow. So I think the success of the Westfield Public Schools are due to the adults, but I have to say, I have to end by thanking our students, because our students are great. Our students are bright, they're inquisitive, they're challenging, and they are by far the best hope for our future. So I think thanking all those people, I'll be glad to accept the award in recognition of the Westfield Public Schools.
Thank you, Peg, and Judy and Rich, thank you for your wonderful remarks. I know that you have other events this evening, and we are so grateful to both of you for coming and being able to carve out the time and for choosing our superintendent to honor. So thank you very much. I'd now like to ask some additional attendees to speak tonight, and I think it's important to note, Peg, that while the line of speakers could very well have gone down the hall, out the door, and down the road, we did have to be mindful of time, and we picked some representatives from several of the constituents who asked to speak this evening. So I would begin with Audrey Zavitz, if you'd come up. Audrey is president of the Westfield Association of Administrators and Supervisors and is here tonight to say a few words on their behalf.
Good evening. As president of the Westfield Association of Administrators and Supervisors, it gives me great pleasure to honor our superintendent extraordinaire, Dr. Margaret Dolan. After secretly polling WAAS members, I have created an ABC poem complete with poetic license, remember that, to let you know what we administrators and supervisors call Peggy when she is out of earshot. It is entitled, The ABCs of Dr. Margaret Dolan, our Superintendent of the Year. Advocate for students, bond referendum speaker, Chinese language pilot supporter, district website updater, energy conservationalist, and first to be our good news reporter, graduation orator, hirer of outstanding educators, increaser of training for staff, jelly bean lover. I had to, okay, whatever. I had a tough time with Jay. So, okay.
I thought that was Kim.
Jelly bean lover, kind-hearted humanitarian, and a leader who can always make us laugh. Marshall Plan mentor, new teacher institutor, own the room trainer for free, PTC member, queen for today, and a respectful administrator to you and to me. SGOer, tweeter of district tweets, Union County Superintendent of the Year, very talented harpist, wireless networker, and extra strong safety net for those she holds dear. Y is for you, Westfield Board of Education, for supporting our leader through and through. And Z is for me, President Zavitz, who knows all of this to be true. Congratulations, Peggy, from your loyal principals and supervisors.
Thank you very much, Audrey. I'd next like to ask Kim Schumacher to come up. Kim is president of the Westfield Education Association and is here tonight not only to say a few words on behalf of the teachers, but also on behalf of our secretaries, paraprofessionals, and custodians. Thank you.
Of course, I have props. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you, Peggy. So a few weeks ago over lunch, Peggy and I were talking about this wonderful award. And as the mother of 2 young children, it's all about the bling. I said to her, well, what did you get? Like, you won this award. Did you get anything? Did you get money? And she's like, no. And I said, did you get a trophy? And she goes, I don't know. I am very pleased to see that beautiful trophy. I'm going to go home and tell my children you did get a trophy. So my first reaction was obviously, well, what do you get? And then I thought to myself, as president of the teachers, we need to give you something as a gift. So I went down to one of the elementary schools. I will not say the name of which one I went to. And I went into a first grade class. As a former first grade teacher, I missed the little ones, and I sat down and I said, so the superintendent of schools won this really cool award, and I want to give her a present from first and second and third graders. What can I give her? Of course, none of them had any idea who the superintendent of school was or what the superintendent of school does. So I said, well, she's kind of like the boss of all the schools. And they were like, okay, so she's important. I said, yeah, she's very important. So this little girl looked up to me and she said, you must give her the most beautiful pink tiara with bling. So this is your tiara, Peggy, and when you do the budget, I expect you to wear this. When you and Dana are sitting doing this, you need to wear this tiara. And of course, there was a little boy who was sitting at the table, and he said to me, if you're going to give her a tiara, you need to give her a sword to kill all of the bad guys. But do not bring a sword into school. That is a big problem. It is a weapon, and weapons are not allowed in our schools. And I said, okay, so I did not bring my lightsaber with me tonight for you. So what I then wanted to do is I wanted to chat with our middle school students. And I said, you know, the superintendent has won this award. And I went into the cafeteria and I talked about it. And of course they said, Dr. Dolan, which I was very impressed actually that 6th, 7th, and 8th graders knew who you were. And they said, well, she is the face of all of the new computers in the computer lab. Which I did not believe. So I went and looked, and I swear every homepage is your face. Some are like the full screen just of your face, but most are the district's webpage. So I said, you know, I want to give her this gift. What can I give Dr. Dolan that represents middle school? And they said, you must give her an iTunes gift card for all of her video, music, and gaming needs. There was no question that it had to be an iTunes gift card. So I went to visit the high school, and I got to see lots of my old students, which, you know, Dr. Dolan, I love to do, and I told them about the award, and they all knew who you were, which always makes me feel good. And I asked them what I should give you, and a bunch of them said, well, you have to give them a letter of acceptance to an Ivy League school. I mean, I got connections, people, but not that good. So they said, what you really need to give her if you can't get that are keys to her brand new sports car. Right? Every high school kid wants their own sports car. These only work the snowplow in the back from 1994. It was the best I could do on my budget, which is kind of limited. But seriously, Dr. Dolan, on behalf of the entire teaching staff, all the secretaries, the custodians, and the paraprofessionals, we thank you for your commitment and your dedication to the students of Westfield. And we appreciate all you do for us and how much you make coming to work a joy each and every day. Thank you so much.
And there's a camera in your hand.
And a Facebook post.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Kim. Next, I'd like to ask Kate Fleshler to come up. Kate is the president of the Westfield Parent-Teacher Council and will say a few words on behalf of the parents in our district. The PTC is the umbrella organization for all of our school PTOs in the district. The executive board of the PTC, as well as the PTO presidents and representatives, Meet with Dr. Dolan twice a month in meetings resulting in productive, open lines of communication between parents and the superintendent. Thank you, Kate, for all the hard work that you do for us and for coming tonight.
Well, I've been involved in the PTC board for the last 5 years and have had the pleasure of having meetings, as Rich said, twice a month with Dr. Dolan. And on behalf of all of the parents for Westfield, I don't know if some people realize what a treasure you are, because you come to our meetings, you give us so much of your time, and you have a lot of things to do. And you listen to us, you are just completely transparent with what's going on. You give us all the information we need. If you have a question, you pool us for questions. When we have things we need to talk about, you're there for us, and you give us such respect, and you're open to whatever we have to say, and you're there until we're done asking you questions. And you stay around longer sometimes, and we are so. I wish that all the people in Westfield, all the parents in Westfield know that. You might say it's because the parents do what you said, but because we know we have your backing, it makes our job that much easier. So thank you so very, very much on behalf of all of the parents of Westfield. Really appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Next, I'd like to ask Alexa Derman to come up. There she is. Alexa is here tonight representing the student body of the Westfield School District.
Yeah.
Alexa is a senior at Westfield High School. And this spring, Alexa was named a 2013 National Young Arts Foundation winner. She also has won achievement recognitions from the Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Awards and the Youth and Government Organization. This year, Alexa is the New Jersey representative at the Conference of National Affairs. Alexa is also an accomplished writer. When only a 10th grader at Westfield High School, she was accepted into the Young Playwright Inc.'s Advanced Playwright Workshop in New York City. She also received the National Gold Medal by Scholastic Art and Writing. She is co-editor-in-chief of Folio, Westfield High School's literary magazine, and as a High's Eye journalism student, she has interviewed Dr. Dolan. And we are very pleased that Alexa wanted to join us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to, you can hear me, right? I'm a little short. Okay. No, this happens to me a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you all again, and congratulations once again to Dr. Dolan for this spectacular and deserved honor. It's really hard to believe that this September marked the beginning of my 12th year in the Westfield School District, and that my baby brother will soon be the same age I was when Dr. Dolan became superintendent. I've thought a lot about what I wanted to say today, what I could possibly say, really, that would encompass all that Dr. Dolan has done for the students of this town. And then the words came, so obvious. Thank you. Thank you for supporting music in this district so my athlete brother gets excited every day about practicing his new trumpet. Thank you for at lunch when my friend Mara tells me the new Mandarin phrase she just learned for the grin it puts on her face amidst SATs and college apps. Thank you for my sister's track races and for opening nights of every fall play, especially this one now that we have a pool. Thank you for STEM Day last year, where upon building a cardboard chair that could hold 100 pounds, this dedicated humanities kid realized she wanted to study physics as well. Thank you for teachers like I've had who pushed us to be so much more than we could ever imagine, to think deeper and go further. Thank you for libraries that have been my best friend and counselors that have been my greatest resources. Thank you for just the confidence that next year at college I'll be unafraid to speak up in my first lecture hall because I'll feel prepared. Thank you for even that interview about Hurricane Sandy last year, for the reassurance it gave to the students that the students of this district are not only in very capable hands, but in very caring ones as well. So thank you, Dr. Dolan. Even though my time at Westfield is coming to a close this June, I know there are fantastic things in store for years to come, and that your mark on this town and our education is permanent. So congratulations once again.
Alexa, thank you so much for coming here this evening and for those remarks. Next, we have some past board members who jumped at the chance to come back and say a few words about PEG this evening. Julia Walker, if you could come up. Julia served on the board for 8 years, from 2003 to 2011, and most recently was president of the board. Julia, thank you for coming tonight.
I promise I'll be very brief. We're coming up on 8 o'clock. I've known Dr. Dolan since I joined the board in 2003, and at the time she was the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, if I remember correctly. In 2007, the Board of Education embarked on a search, a multi-state search actually, looking for a new superintendent for Westfield schools. And Dr. Dolan was our unanimous choice to lead this district. From my vantage point, the title of Superintendent of the Year is evidence that Dr. Dolan's peers saw exactly what we saw 6 years ago: leadership in education. Although I have no idea, even though you actually explained it to me, I was going to say I had no idea what was actually involved in choosing a county Superintendent of the Year, but one statistic got left out, and that is that Dr. Dolan became the superintendent and has served during 2 governors, 4 commissioners of education, and 4 Board of Ed presidents. My takeaway is that maybe your greatest skill is your ability to change with the environment, because it seems to ever change around here. For years we've heard this phrase, it's all about the kids. For Dr. Dolan, I would say it's all about educating the whole child. It's not exactly a bumper sticker, but it does make one great school district. So thank you and congratulations, Dr. Dolan. I bring flowers tonight because this is the second time I've had the privilege. The night that we voted to hire Dr. Dolan as our superintendent, I brought the flowers. So it's my privilege to get to do it again.
Thank you, Julia. Alice Honeycutt, if you could come up. Alice served on the board for 9 years, from 2002 to 2011. Thank you for coming tonight.
First of all, congratulations, Peggy. I'm sitting here on the sidelines going, well, I was 11.111111% of the reason you're here, because there's 9 of us. But my takeaway from this whole thing, in addition to what everybody else has said, and it's all true, you're very, very deserving, is that what I've taken away and what I've learned from you, because I think we've all learned something from Dr. Dolan, is your balanced scorecard approach to moving a district. You not only look at the needs of all the children in terms of those who are the most intellectually gifted and to those who are demonstrate a need for significant support. And you also take a look at the teachers and where they are and challenge them and provide educational opportunities for the whole system. We appreciate it. I know all 5 of my children have graduated. That's one of the most proud things that I can say as a parent, is that every one of my kids graduated from Westfield High School. And to me, that is just incredible for those of you who've known some of my journey. So I look at you, the assessments that we all do. It's incredible. I take it away from my current job, and I think about that balanced approach to look at the metrics, to look at the assessments, but take that information and reach for the sky. And that's what you always do. So I want to really congratulate you and thank you for all that you've done.
Alice, thank you very much for coming tonight and your remarks. Jane Clancy. Jane served on the board for 6 years.
I'm so excited.
Jane Clancy served on the Board of Education for 6 years, from 2006 to 2012. Jane, thank you very much.
Thank you. I promise I won't cry this time.
That's not possible.
So thank you. Yes, former Board of Education member and mother to many of the challenging students that Dr. Dolan talked about in our district. So I thank you. So Julia and I should have compared notes because I too reflected a little bit on our journey in our search for superintendent, and we're so excited when we found Dr. Dolan right here and knew that we had gotten it right. So thank you very much for sharing those remarks. So there's just one piece that I'd like to share with you, and that is something that not everyone gets to see in Dr. Dolan, and one of her most impressive qualities that I believe she possesses, and that is how she so quietly and carefully weighs all of the decisions that she makes and has the best interest of students as her top priority, which we have all discussed as well tonight, and it truly is her priority, and we appreciate that very much. Dr. Dolan does not get caught up in the latest craze in education, and as we all know, there can often be, information coming at you left and right, and Dr. Dolan always stays focused and also has the ability to keep discussions on task. And if you've ever sat in a meeting with Dr. Dolan, you know sometimes it can run a little bit off track. And so Dr. Dolan was always able to keep the focus and keep the discussion going, so we also appreciate that. And while Dr. Dolan has the lead role in our district, she is a true team player, and she brought up that in her discussion as well, and she surrounds herself with people who are as dedicated and committed to our district as she is, and we want to thank you very much for that. So thank you, Dr. Dolan, and of course to all of those who work so hard every day in our schools, and our students are thriving because of you, so thank you.
Okay, next I'd like to ask any current board members who want to say a few words, and I know that Ginny, certainly you are one of our most senior board members, and I am sure you'd be happy to speak.
Yeah, I would.
Thank you.
I don't really need to say much of the things that I've written, but Dr. Dolan, I want you to remember one thing. I was your first. I was the first president. As you were. I'm sorry,
Can I tweet that?
Continue, Jim.
As president of the board, when we selected Dr. Dolan, I was her first president. And it has given me no greater pleasure than to have worked with you all of the years as you have been superintendent, and the years before that in central staff. There has been so much excitement and support for you. I remember first when we selected you, I was approached by many staff and many teachers, and they were personally excited, exuberant, could not wait to tell me how they felt that you in that position was just what we needed in this district. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I'm so happy that this wider audience has now recognized your contributions to our board and to our community. As I said, it has been my honor and my privilege to have worked with you these many years. We grew up together in leadership positions on the board. We've shared a long journey together, and I'm so pleased and thankful that we've shared it together. I was thinking, I didn't want to tell any tales out of school, but I just want you to know that there are other sides of Dr. Dolan, and while she may prefer to hold back in her demeanor, I just want you to know that sometimes on a Friday afternoon I will call her just for that opportunity to hear her laugh. Sometimes it works. And I really do enjoy that balance of knowing that her sense of humor hasn't left her, even under the difficult conditions and the sometimes arduous decisions and the tasks that confront her in our district. She's up to them, and she remains humorous and can share a chortle once in a while. You have no greater passion than your heartfelt gift to our children. As has been said, you have that understanding that each of them should be given every opportunity to grow into their individual potential selves. You believe this, you say it, and you live it. And our Westfield Public Schools reflects this. We are so grateful for your dedication, your energy, your spirit, and I'm just so proud of you. There is no one more deserving of this honor.
Is there anyone else on the board who would like to say a few words? And if not, is there anyone else in the public here tonight, anyone who'd like to say a few words? All right. Oh, yes. All right.
Jenny, I didn't know where we were going with that. I started texting Peggy. Hell does that mean? I just want to tell you something. This is a tough.
Introduce yourself, Rich.
Oh, that's right. I'm on the radio. It's hard to know. It's one of the great advantages. Now you understand why I'm on the radio. Rich Lamb, and I'm on WCBS radio, and that is my lovely wife over there, and she's terrified right now. So is both Foley, but without both, she wouldn't be here. So I think we'll have to. Well, no, I wanted her first. Never mind. That was such a phrase. It gets you right into the tent, doesn't it? What is she saying?
I wanted to draw you in.
I just want to tell you that Peggy has your back. I had the privilege of seeing her at very odd hours. And I can tell you, during Sandy, she walked around with a candle in her hand in the middle of the night. We had no lights, as I'm sure everybody here remembers. Nobody had any lights, and we did have hot water. That was the one good thing. But she gets up in the middle of the night to, call the snow and stuff. 4 o'clock in the morning, the phone is ringing off. You think the stock market is open or something in our house. Every superintendent's calling every other superintendent. And, what do you think? Do you think this is it? Anyway, Peggy makes her decision. We get out and drive around on the roads, and that the mantra of it's all about the kids. She says that all the time at home, and behind your back, she says nice things about the board, great things about the district, and I just want you to know that she's in love with this place, and occasionally she's quite tired after an 18-hour day or whatever it is. One of those board meetings went to 1 o'clock in the morning, and I pretended I was waiting up, and actually had fallen asleep. And the garage door opens. I can't. It's like 10 after 1 in the morning. So I was in some meeting. Anyway, she loves this place. She loves the kids, and she gives it her absolute all at all times. And I'm blessed to have her. She also has a great sense of humor. I want to tell you one quick story. Now it's a good one, Peggy. But it's kind of funny. Now, she used to play the harp professionally. She played the harp in the World Trade Center, at the windows, at private parties for like millionaires and billionaires, in St. Patrick's Cathedral. She was scheduled to play the harp with a high school orchestra. She didn't get 1 minute of sleep the night before. She was terrified. That's how professional she is at everything she does. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rich. Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? All right, with that, I will. And I'll be brief. Peg, you know how much I personally enjoy working with you and how much I appreciate everything that you do for the district. You truly are a CEO in all respects, ensuring the continued delivery of high-quality education to thousands of students year after year, while managing all of our administrators, staff, secretaries, paraprofessionals, custodians, thousands of parents, multiple school sites, and probably the most demanding of all, 9 very active board members. There's no one I would rather have leading the institution that is responsible for educating my own children. And this board can't thank you enough for all that you do for us. With that, I'd like to present you with the certificate. Come on.
More bling.
This is a resolution from the Westfield, New Jersey Board of Education to Dr. Margaret Dolan, the 2013 Union County Superintendent of the Year. Whereas Dr. Margaret Dolan, Superintendent of the Westfield Public Schools, has been selected by the Union County Superintendent's Roundtable as Union County Superintendent of the Year, and whereas Dr. Margaret Dolan, an educator for 35 years, was appointed Superintendent of the Westfield, New Jersey Public School District in 2007, having served in Westfield as Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Program, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and Principal of the Franklin Elementary School. And whereas Dr. Dolan oversees the town's 10 schools, serving over 6,200 students, representing one of the largest Westfield enrollments in more than 30 years. And whereas while leading a 5-year strategic plan for the district, Dr. Dolan placed the incorporation of 21st century skills as a major goal to strengthen student engagement, global connections, and multiple perspectives. And whereas Dr. Dolan continues to encourage conservation within the district, which has saved the district more than $2.5 million in utility costs, and works closely with the Board of Education to demonstrate fiscal responsibility to taxpayers. And whereas Dr. Dolan continually places students first and is dedicated to fulfilling the district's mission to prepare all students to reach their highest potential and to become productive, well-balanced, and responsible citizens in a global society through educational programs that respect individual differences and diversity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Board of Education recognizes Dr. Margaret Dolan for her outstanding leadership and congratulates her on being named the 2013 Union County Superintendent of the Year, and that this resolution be presented to Dr. Margaret Dolan on October 15th, 2013, and that a copy of this resolution attesting to the appreciation of the Board of Education become part of the official minutes of this meeting. Thank you very much. With that, we'll just have a few words from Roseanne, who will then invite us all to stay for refreshments and a brief 10-minute break.
What's left to say? You have to get up again.
I'm thrilled to give you these flowers on behalf of the Board of Education in celebration of this wonderful honor. It is truly deserved, and it is your patience, your breadth of knowledge, and your continuing dedication to learning, not only for the kids in the district and the staff, but you are continually learning yourself, so you are truly a role model, and it is inspiring. You are a passionate educator, and Westfield is better because of the time that you've served with us. And so thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank also Lori Korecki and Barbara Ball for helping us organize and pull everybody together. And I'd like to thank everybody who came out to support and celebrate this wonderful honor with Dr. Dolan. And now we have set up some refreshments and a time for you to talk and mingle. So thanks.
Thank you.
I'm looking.
All right, we're back in. I'd like to, at this time, recognize the public for agenda items only. All right, seeing no one come to the podium, we will move to the superintendent reports.
Thank you. Tonight we have a few superintendent reports listed. I'm going to change the order of the reports because the one that has to do with the annual week of respect, as part of it, we're going to share some work that one of our students has shared with the district, and she's a 9th grader, and I do want to make sure that we don't keep her out too late tonight. So we'll do the bond presentation after that. So the state of New Jersey requires that all school districts observe a week of respect in October and also a week of school violence awareness, rather. And we certainly don't pay attention to respect 1 week during the year. Respect is at the core of our code of conduct and in how we conduct our schools. But we certainly can highlight things during a week of respect. And when we do that, we focus on 3 basic items, really. It's respect for self, it's respect for others, and it's respect for community. And among the different ages, that community can change a bit. When you're a kindergartner, probably your community is really just your classroom. That's how you learn first, is you learn about just your immediate classroom. As you get older, certainly, your community grows to be at least your school. And as you are older in the high school, we certainly want our older students to understand that they are part of a much broader community, and in fact, perhaps a global community, and that's part of it. During the Week of Respect, there are numerous ways where we work with our students to make sure that they understand the importance of respect for others, themselves, and their community. And some of them are listed on the chart above. There's one particular one I want to highlight a bit. If we're going to respect others, one of the important things is we need to understand others. We need to understand people who might be a little different than we are, and that's part of an education, an important part. So we're very proud that one of our students, who is now a 9th grader, wrote, developed, and produced, and starred in a video which helps especially teenagers understand students who may be just a little bit different than they are. So we're going to play the video first, and then we're lucky enough that that student is going to speak with us a little bit tonight, talk a little bit. But here first is part of the video that she produced.
What is autism? I don't really know. I really don't know what it means. Sorry, I don't know. Oh, wait, I know what that is. This thing, it's a disorder. This makes you get like off your mind. Different diseases that go on a spectrum? I think it's a condition. It's a social condition. It makes it harder for children to socialize with other children, right to learn. Difficulty in hearing and your coordination. A child that didn't develop normally, who didn't have her milestones.
In schools, we mostly see affecting social interactions among students. This makes them a little bit different, and it makes them a little bit special.
What is autism? Autism is not contagious. It's a developmental disorder that often makes it hard to communicate and relate to others. With autism, the brain handles information differently. Just because someone has autism doesn't mean they can't have amazing talents.
Stephen Wiltshire spent 3 days drawing this panoramic view of Madrid. Painstakingly detailed, it was penned entirely from memory. Wiltshire memorized this vast cityscape during a 30-minute helicopter ride. You memorize it, all that in your head. Is that easy or is that hard?
Easy. My name is John Patrick Longley. I am an Asperger's syndrome boy, and I'm 16 years old. In fact, I'm a writer. I write and illustrate children's books for the good families, all in silly.
I spoke to Dr. Jed Baker, PhD, a nationally renowned autism educator, author, and director of the Social Skills Training Program, to get his insight on autism.
Based on something Temple Grandin once said, she's a very famous, very bright woman with autism. What Temple Grandin said is if there weren't people with autism, throughout history, people might have been socializing so much that we might not have invented the wheel, invented fire, invented the automobile, invented the internet.
It is common for many people with autism to have hypersensitivity or hyposensitivity. I bet you always thought having superpowers were cool. But what if you didn't have control of the superpowers, and they all kicked into 100% at the same time? This is how hypersensitivity might feel, like out of control superpowers.
My hearing may be hyper or cute. People are talking at once. Cash registers beep and cough. Someone's yelling, samples. Shopping carts bump into each other. Doors slam open and shut. Hands drop. Fluorescent lighting hums. Senses smell may be highly sensitive. The fish at the meat counter isn't quite fresh. The guy standing next to us hasn't showered today. The deli is handing out sausage soup. Baby in the line ahead of us has a dirty dick. They're melting up barbecue sauce on our moldy cheese over her counter breeze restrained. Kids are really loud, dangerously nauseating. The fluorescent light is not only too bright, but it buzzes and hums. The room seems to pulsate and it hurts my eyes. The pulsating light bounces off everything and distorts what I'm seeing. The space seems to be constantly changing.
There are common behaviors that are called self-stimulatory behaviors. These include flapping, snapping, vocal sounds, rocking back and forth from side to side, putting things in their mouth, smelling things, staring at lights or fans, repeating portions of books or songs, and tapping things. Do you have anything that you do to deal with being nervous, or when you're impatient or excited? Are there any habits and behaviors that you do to deal with being stressed about getting back your math test? Or looking at the clock and waiting for that 1 minute until school's over? Or waiting online and not having anyone to talk to? If you think about it, stimming is something just about everyone does when you're nervous, bored, or excited. People with autism doing things like flapping are handling their emotions just differently than most do. If everybody flapped their arms when they were excited, nobody would look at them funny.
So instead of trying to get folks with autism always to fit in, sometimes it's better for us as middle schoolers or as a community to reach out.
Being autistic is not them. It's not who they are. It's what they have and the way their brain is different. They're a person with Asperger's, a person with Rett syndrome, a person with pervasive developmental disorder. Each individual has a personality, and likes and dislikes, and a favorite food. And some love bugs or pears or cupcakes. Some love Michael Jackson, just like someone without autism. And each person is a person. And people are interesting, people are funny, and people are worth the effort.
So I'd like to invite Alex Jackman to come up to the podium and
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for the support of the district. It has been so nice and so helpful. I'm also so thankful for the TR Scholar program, the Teddy Roosevelt Scholar, because although I always would have loved to do a project like this, I don't think I would have really ever done it if it wasn't for a program like this. And I'm so appreciative of the support of Mr. Carey and the principal at Roosevelt Intermediate School and Mr. Geckman, the vice principal, for all of the support. And I went to Mr. Geckman because I wasn't sure for the Teddy Roosevelt Scholar, special needs doesn't really fit into the listed categories of math, science, social studies, language arts, or world language. So I wasn't really sure what to do. So when I went to Mr. Geckman, instead of saying, no, sorry, it doesn't really fit into the categories, you pick something else if you want to apply, he introduced me to Mr. Dominic Cessio, who's a social studies and special ed teacher at Roosevelt. So I'm so appreciative of both of them and Mr. Cessio agreeing to work with me. But I've been working with people with special needs for about 4 years, so since I was 10. And the main thing that I've realized through that is that autism isn't, and other special needs isn't who a person is, it's something that they have. And I realized that a lot of my peers don't realize that and ignore their classmates with autism or other special needs, not to be mean, but because they just don't understand and don't know how to communicate. So that's really the simple explanation of why I created this video. But I'm just going to try my best to get it shown to as many people as possible and hopefully have as many people learn from it and watch it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just in the Westfield schools, several hundred of our students have seen the video during the Week of Respect. So, and I know we're not alone. I know that the video is being seen by a number of people, and I think it will make a difference. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, so the state has two different requirements during the month of October, and I'm addressing both of them now. The second part of it is the observation of a week of violence awareness. And so during this week, what we're going to do is I'm going to review the incidents involved with violence, vandalism, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, or substance abuse. These are all requirements of the state. The state has very specific ways that we need to report this data. It is for a very specific period in time. It is from January 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2013. If an incident falls outside that, or if a decision on an incident falls outside that by 1 or 2 days, then it is not part of this data. Then it'll be part of the next report, okay? We do have the opportunity to have these reports twice a year according to state regulations. So. Okay. So there are comparisons with previous periods, but the column to the left is from January 2013 to June 30th, 2013. There were a total of 17 incidents involving violence, vandalism, substance abuse, or incidents across all of our schools. And you can see the breakdown. Now, 17 is the number of incidents. There can be more than one child involved, which is why you see more than 17 when it talks about the actions taken. The incidents included things like such as fighting or assault, which is where one child does either hit or push or do something physical to another student and the other child does not respond. In that case, it's not a fight, it's an assault. It also had to do, there were incidents of harassment, intimidation, and bullying as well as part of that. Harassment, intimidation, and bullying, there are very specific requirements for reporting. There were a total of 45 reports from January through the end of June. Out of that number, there were 6 that were confirmed to be harassment, intimidation, or bullying. There were a number of others which were determined to be violations of code of conduct, but those are not reported to the state. This is specifically those that are confirmed to be harassment, intimidation, or bullying. Out of those 6, we are then required to report how many of those did we follow the requirement for a 10-day period for an investigation. We have to have it completed within the 10 days. All 6 of them met that deadline. All 6 of them also, we had to report whether or not we presented it to the board, and the board came to a decision on those. And for all 6 of the harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases, the board did make a decision. Under the New Jersey Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, harassment, intimidation, and bullying only exists when there is a protected category. So some of the data you look to see, do we have a problem in one specific area? For this year, that does not seem to be the case. In almost every area, we have a few. For race or color or gender, all of those, and other distinguishing characteristics are detailed based on the individual case. But we do not have a pattern in one area. As for district responses, again, this is the total of the 6 cases that were found to be HIB, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, and you will see that when you add up the numbers for responses, it comes to more than 6, certainly, because in many instances there is certainly a parent conference, a student conference, and then other either counseling or other consequences that are handed out. We also are required to indicate, so how was the harassment, intimidation, and bullying accomplished? Out of the 6 that were determined to be HIB, that met the state regulation for that, some of them, it was more than one way where the HIB was communicated, but the largest number in this case were verbal. It is very easy to say some words that are hurtful and intimidating or bullying. When we look at a breakdown of the actual cases by school,
can see that there was one confirmed case in Tamaulipas, 2 in Edison, 2 in Roosevelt, 1 in Westfield High School. Again, I just want to stress that that means very specifically that the determination that it was bullying was accomplished during those dates. If something was determined to be bullying after that, that would be in the next group. Now, this last slide is very important because the anti-bullying law is extremely specific as to what happens if any student believes, or any student believes that they've been intimidated or bullied, or any parent having spoken with their child believes that that's the case. The anti-bullying specialists, there's at least one in every school, are very important to this process. They are the ones who will conduct the initial investigation. Now, the complaint can be given to anyone in the school, and that person will talk to the principal. The principal will contact the parents of both the alleged bullies and the alleged victims to start it. The investigation itself is done by one of these people. They are trained, they have training in this area, and most of them are either counselors or school psychologists. After the investigation, the results of the investigation in written form are given to the principal. The principal then has a set number of days where they review and make a determination, in their view, compared to the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, is this bullying or is this not? The principal's written determination is then sent to my office. I then review it. If I feel as though there is not enough evidence there or documentation, I can ask them to add more information. When I've determined that it is either bullying or not, at the next board meeting, I am required to present it to the members of the Board of Education in private session. Board of Education then determines whether they agree with the decision or not. There is a formal vote given, and the parents are notified. If parents disagree with the determination of the Board of Education, there is an appeal process where they can come and speak to the board. If parents are not satisfied after that, there is another procedure where the appeal can go to the New Jersey Commissioner of Education. It is a lengthy process, but it is also a rather thorough process with many eyes looking, many people asking questions, many people comparing the incident to the actual Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights to see whether or not it is an actual case. So the people on this slide are very important for people to know. Should any child feel as though they are being intimidated or bullied, it really is important that that be reported as soon as possible. We take all of these seriously. We provide a lot of training in the district for our teachers, for our administrators, for our parents, and certainly for our students. I think we do a very good job, but I know that it's a job that has to continue.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Comments? I have just one question. Just comparing the first 6 months of 2012 to 2013, the number of investigations went up a lot. And I didn't know if that was, is there anything from that or any particular cause? It's slide here, slide 8, I think. But is there anything going on?
So, let me just make sure I'm looking at the right numbers. I'm sorry.
Sure.
No, I don't have a response for what it is.
I mean, the number of hits went down, right? It's good news, but
the number of
I didn't know
reports.
if there was something earlier this year that was generating investigations. I didn't remember it.
Right. I don't think there was a pattern.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
And Mrs. Sullivan, thank you for letting us switch the order, but I believe Dana Sullivan is now going to give an update on the November 5th bond referendum.
As you know, we've been talking about this for several meetings now. We are going to have a replacement bond referendum on November 5th. Since this is our last public board meeting before the referendum, we wanted to make sure that the board and the public understood what the referendum was about. So as you'll recall, on May 30th, the Department of Education and the governor announced that state aid would now be available to fund construction projects. The funds that are available are only available for projects that have not yet been started. So if we look back to last year, we had in December of 2012, we had a $13.6 million bond referendum that was approved. and that was to do roofs in all of our school buildings and central office. $6.9 million of that effectively was spent this summer for the 3 largest projects that we've just about completed at this point. So that left a remaining balance of $6,684,000 for all of the projects that we have scheduled to do next summer. Those are the funds, the part of the project that we are eligible to receive state aid for. So again, it's only available for that 6.6 million, not for the 6.9, because we had already gone out to bid, awarded contracts as of May 30th when those funds were announced. So we did decide to seek those funds. And in order to do that, we had to schedule another referendum. So the board back in June approved that. And we are now looking at a referendum that will be on the ballot on November 5th for $6,684,000. So in essence, if that referendum is approved, the December referendum will be reduced from 13.6 to 6.9 million, and the new referendum will be 6.6 million. So in total, we are still looking at total roof projects of a principal cost of $13.6 million, just now split into 2 referendums rather than 1 referendum. So if the referendum is approved on November 5th, the district will receive $2.7 million approximately in state aid, which will be used to reduce the tax obligation to the taxpayers of Westfield to repay that debt. If the referendum is not approved, we will not receive the $2.7 million, so therefore there will not be a reduction to the taxpayers to repay the $13.6 million bond. This is just not something that you can read up on the screen there. This is the actual proposal that will be in the ballot. It's legally what we have to put on the ballot. So what I did here is highlighted where it shows the purpose is to obtain facilities financial aid. So that's really the only reason we're going out for this additional bond, is to obtain state aid. I highlighted again that this bond proposal will supersede the bond proposal approved by the voters on December 11th. So our intent here is to educate the public that this is just a replacement bond that will enable us to receive state aid. And we're hoping that if we publicize this, and the public gets to see it before they walk into the ballot, because we know nobody's really going to stand there and read this whole thing. And again, it's $6.6 million, and it breaks out all of the schools, but the total is $6.6 million. So again, just to conclude, we are going to proceed with completing all of our roofs as we had planned to do from last year. The amount that we intend to spend on those projects will still be $13.6 million. With an approval on November 5th, we will have our tax obligation reduced by $2.7 million. If no approval is obtained on November 5th, then the taxpayers will pay the full bond and interest proceed amount. And Dr. Dolan and I are scheduled on October 30th to have a meeting at Roosevelt School to present information to anybody in the public that's interested, that feels that they need more information, and to answer any questions that people may have, in addition to various meetings that we've already attended, PTC meetings and other meetings that we've attended. Does the board have any questions?
I just wanted to highlight, this is the third question on the ballot. Apparently there are 2 others, so it's very important for the public to look for this particular question. Question number 3.
Can Dana, maybe you or Dr. Dolan can just clarify what will come of the additional 2.7? I know we've gotten some questions about whether we'll be allocating that to other parts of the budget or not, and so.
Well, it's really just money that will not be appropriated in the budget.
Right, but I think there's some impression out there that we're going to have an extra $2.7 million.
No, it's a reduction in your taxes, basically, is what it is. If we don't get the state aid, we'll have to raise taxes over a period of time, not in 1 year.
Right.
2.7 million. If we receive the state aid, we just simply will not raise taxes.
Anyone else? Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. I then turn to personnel. Mark.
I'd like the board to consider personnel items 1 through 15. Number 15 was an addendum which was at your desk when you got here this evening. Second, please.
Second.
Jeannie, any questions? Okay. Dana?
Rich Matessa?
Yes.
Lucy Beegler?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Mark Friedman?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes. Anything else, Mark?
No, sir.
All right, that brings us to facilities. I don't have a report other than just to ask Dana, status of the roofs. They are,
We had a lot of work done this weekend. The high school is over 50% with the second layer, the cap sheet down. So they are proceeding towards completion. Of course, we do have some rain scheduled. I think it's tomorrow and Thursday, or Thursday and Friday. But we are in pretty
You're pretty good. You scheduled the rain.
Otherwise, we are in good shape with the high school. They did work at Washington and Roosevelt also, I believe, on Monday when schools were closed. They also worked on the greenhouse at the high school over the weekend. They started Friday afternoon and just about completed that over the weekend, and it actually looks great. So we're in good shape with the roofs.
great, thank you. Long-range planning, Ginny.
Long-range planning will meet on October 28th. I have asked Dr. Dolan for a report of enrollment at our elementary schools and an analysis of the use of the facilities. So that will be our focus of this meeting.
Great, thank you. Policies, Gretchen.
Yes, I would ask for the board to consider policy motion number 1. Can I have a second? This is for the approval of policy 0155, which is board committees. We've been through it, I know, a couple times. Does anybody have any questions? This is the, Ginny, this is where we added the legislation committee and, oh.
I'm lucky.
You got it. If there is okay to proceed to vote, Jenny?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Rich Matesic?
Yes.
Lucy Beegler?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Mark Friedman?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Curriculum, instruction, and programs, Roseanne.
I think that we're having a curriculum update from Paul Panero first.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, that should stay there. Good evening, everybody. And Dr. Dolan, congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to speak briefly about our curriculum renewal process. What we mean by renewal is that in order to deliver instruction to our students that is consistently of high quality, we cycle each document, each course guide, through a renewal process every 5 years. That means that of our 236 curricula in 13 content areas, I'd like to actually pull that back and say over 230, because I know my SIP colleagues on the Curriculum Instruction and Programs Committee could probably find that there's one in either direction, 237, 235. I picture B. Jenny saying, don't forget Mandarin 2. So, yes, but that's a lot. And so it's important that of all of those documents, which really are the blueprint and the foundation for the delivery of instruction, it's important that we vet them, that we go through them in the 13 content areas. So that's how we maintain the quality and consistency of our overall program and the roadmaps for each course. Okay. So to this end, our Board of Education follows a formal district policy that reviews curricula for changes in state and national standards, for changes in state assessment practices, new technologies and instructional innovations, and compliance with state and federal monitoring. Our curriculum oversight is maintained by K through 12 content supervisors, by the curriculum office, my office, Our instructional council, which I'll talk just a little bit more about in a couple slides, but our instructional council sits at this very table and fills it with about 9 to 12 people, carefully vetting each document with regard to its alignment to standards. So that's an important part of the process. That's the instructional council. That includes, by the way, principals and teachers and administrators, supervisors. And then, of course, we have our Curriculum, Instruction, and Programs Committee, the SIP Committee of the Board of Education. That's our oversight team. And so, just briefly, there are 5 phases in our review process. We evaluate the course in the following ways. We enhance the document. We look to enhance the document. It is the blueprint for what we'll be teaching. We roll it out. We make note of its effectiveness. We make adjustments if needed. So that's kind of an overview of this course evaluation, development, and so forth. So we review So the review can be extensive when we evaluate a course document. So we take a lot into consideration. Over the course of department meetings, grade level meetings, there will be feedback from teachers, feedback that comes from parents through teachers to supervisors and so forth. So we review that kind of feedback. There's the delivery of instruction itself, observations of teachers. There are the current curriculum documents that can be reviewed and that serve typically as the foundation or the baseline for where the document will grow in the next round. Certainly the resources, the materials that are being used and maybe that we might need more of. As I said, feedback, the standardized and district assessment data can give us some insight as to maybe what adjustments in the document might be needed. And with regard to homework practices, consistency of rigor, that's again an ongoing loop of feedback that needs to be taken into consideration when we revise the guide, so that when we sit down to write that final version, all of those things can be taken into consideration. Okay, so the timeline for developing this curriculum. So the major tasks. We review the collected data. As I mentioned a little earlier, we assign curriculum writing tasks. We present the curriculum to the instructional council, as I said, in this room. We present it to the SIP committee, and typically the SIP committee will meet with the writers of the course and the supervisor. Again, it's a very thorough process, and it's about strictly adhering to the standards that need to be aligned in the document, but it's also about the fact that different stakeholders come from different perspectives. So we have everybody involved in that process. So we'll have them come and meet with our SIP committee, the teachers who revised it, and the supervisor, and oftentimes that leads to some follow-up that can enhance the course as well. And eventually comes here to this room after the full board has taken a look at it on their own as well. So what does the initial implementation look like? When we roll it out, we provide staff development. We anticipate the kind of training that teachers might need to be able to roll out the new curriculum. In some cases, well, I'll give you an example, advanced placement courses. Those are revised specifically by the College Board. So if you have an advanced placement course, the guidance that you get for changing that course or revising it will come from the College Board. In that case, then the teacher of that course will likely, in fact almost always, receive training, often from the College Board, to make sure that they're familiar and adjusted to any of the new revisions or changes within that course. So the same applies across the board to any of our new course guides. The K-5 literacy curriculum is another good example. We've had an extensive initiative to make sure that our staff has a very strong understanding of what balanced literacy is. And so when we make revisions, it can be large scale, as I've just mentioned, or sometimes it could be just to infuse some standards that have been released recently. So it really covers, it spans the gamut of the level of revision that might be needed. So in that first implementation, we provide that kind of training if needed. We continue to observe what's going on in the classroom and see how teachers are adjusting to it. And we ask them what they think about the new document, the new practices, if there are some, the new standards, obviously, and importantly. And that discussion goes on throughout the year with their supervisors and administrators at the department level and at the grade level. And certainly collecting data. And that could be formative assessment, it could be more formal assessments such as quarterlies or midterms, finals. And that data also guides us in our interpretation of how well and effective it's being rolled out. So when we prepare the guide that I mentioned that goes to instructional council, so when we prepare the new curriculum document, those are the pieces that are in the framework document, the template. We call it a checklist, but it's much more comprehensive than that. So if you were going to sit down with me and prepare a new course or revise an existing course, we would go through those elements, those sections of that checklist. So we'd start out with, well, what's the rationale and the purpose of the course, and describe that. We would certainly want to nail down what the objectives are, and those are aligned to those standards that I've referred to quite a bit. And then the content, scope, and sequence gives us a sense of how the content of the course will be parceled out according to the learning objectives. And I'm getting a little bored listening to myself. But the learning, well, it's a lot of jargon, I'm sorry. But so the content, scope, and sequence is maybe the units that go into the learning objectives in the, oftentimes we'll talk about techniques. That's a great time to talk about the different instructional techniques, best practices. It's an ever-evolving art, teaching, and that often aligns with the content, the specific content. And as evaluation within the guide is something that we include, meaning that the teachers who revise the guide with their supervisors will take into consideration what kinds of assessments that the teachers can use to consistently align themselves and their expectations with the student performance. And then, of course, always professional development suggestions could be written right into the guide, depending on what might be needed for that revision. And ongoing review as it rolls out and it's in its first year, the supervisors and teachers will talk, and they'll update my office as to how it's going and what adjustments might be needed. And since I meet regularly with the SIP committee, I can update them, and then we'll do something more formal at the end of the year with regard to maybe action points for making that very good guide that's been vetted very well as ideal as possible. And we also monitor how teachers are adjusting to the new course and what their needs might be or further needs. And we continue always to gather data to get a sense of and to measure the effectiveness of the course. The next couple slides are not necessarily meant to be viewed carefully. It's something that we're proud of at the instructional council level because what it is it's a matrix, I suppose you might say, with all of the particular standards. This is when it gets really exciting. So every standard that exists in the curriculum writing world is along the top axis. So you have the content standards, the Common Core, which are the federal standards, then the anchor of the Common Core, and it just gets, it goes across and covers everything. So those are all the standards. And then along the left side, you can see some of it, but I'll just explain. Those are the content areas. So you'll see language arts, math, science. And if you're writing this curriculum, one of the great challenges, if you're not somebody who lives and breathes what, we who vet these documents for a living do, you might get a little confused about the difference between Common Core Anchor and Common Core. So what we've done is created hyperlinks that go to the page on the website of the Federal Common Core. So if you click on it, all you have to say, I'm language arts, do I need this? See, not applicable. No, I don't need that. You go to the next one. So that really helps out the teachers who, right off the bat, because that's, the standards are the thing that guide the whole content, the guide itself, the curriculum itself. So if you're going to start there, you don't want it to be that confusing or frustrating right off the bat. So they're all free there, and if you just scan through the next 2 pages, you see that we cover it straight through: technology, visual performing arts, and so forth. So that's been a great handy addition to the guidance that we offer our teachers who were revising these documents. And it shouldn't be, I shouldn't wrap up without saying that the work and the quality of work that our teachers are able to put into this is crucial to the success of the document. And every time they come to this table to meet with instructional counsel, and I don't want to speak for SIP, but we typically have, when people walk away, we're very excited about what they were able to come up with, and the life they breathe into the documents, and certainly in the classrooms afterwards. So that's a good general overview. You may have questions about the guide itself or really the process. So I'm here for those. Okay.
I have a question for Dr. Dolan. It just occurred to me to ask. I don't know that we have this, we might. Do we have public access to the course of study guides, our curriculum documents?
Well, in a number of ways. The course of studies exists at the high school level in their program of studies book, and that's on their website.
Middle school as well.
And the middle school as well. But, right.
Jenny's talking about the curriculum, the written document, the full curriculum, like what you just went through, the
Sure.
rationale description. I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah,
I'm public access.
I think it might be worthwhile having a conversation in the SIP committee. I don't know if it's, I don't know how many requests we get for that kind of information. I don't know where they, the source of those requests. I don't know that that's, it just strikes me that in an era of full disclosure and availability of information, there might be some benefit. I don't know.
They are, I think, in fact, public documents, because when I was a parent, I asked to see some of them.
Sure.
And I actually went into Dr. Dolan's office and read them.
I understand that I understand that availability exists,
Yeah.
and I'm
Right.
just wondering in this era if
we
there
can
should
make it
be
easier.
electronic access.
Right.
I'd like a conversation. Doesn't have to be right now, but.
Or maybe even just the summary pages. I mean, the document itself can be quite dense and not necessarily, I mean, it's taken me a long time as a member of the SIP committee to figure out what's going on. But maybe the summary page, maybe that, I mean, we could talk about
Or
it.
the
Yeah, it'd be a good
objectives, but
discussion.
certainly you
Sure.
could have, I think it's worthy of the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. And on SIP, we have been working with Paul to really solidify and ensure that the process is working all the time, not only during curriculum writing years. And I think that's really going to benefit not only the actual written document, but the teaching and learning for the students as well as the teachers. And we're really trying to engage the teachers in being reflective and being part of the process, not only the people who write the documents, but the teachers who are teaching the curriculum, the content, to be critical of how can this be better, and if they do something that works tremendously well, working on ways that they can share it and possibly infuse it or get it into the next round. So I'm excited about that. I wasn't bored, Paul. I was very excited.
I was going to say neither.
I would like the board. And are there any other comments on that?
I was gonna say I love Matrix.
Great movie.
I would ask the board to approve item number 1, the 2013-2014 nursing plan as attached. It's administrative memo number 1. May I have a second? Thank you, Mitch. This is a state requirement. The district submits it yearly. The state in the past has not been formally requiring it, but our district has been submitting it. And the state has now informed us that they are again formally requiring it, even though we had been submitting it all of those other years as well.
And I think it really is a good summary of all of the different responsibilities that fall under the nursing office, and they certainly are important ones. So it is good to have one document that summarizes all of that.
Are there any questions on that?
I'm just curious, what is just what the nurses are responsible for, or is?
Sure, it lists who's assigned to which schools. It lists what. Right. It lists most of our schools have one nurse. So who is the backup when a nurse is not in a building? It lists how many students have various medical needs. Summarizes that. It lists our nurses work very closely with public health, and public health through the CDC, through the public health offices, give requirements for various communicable diseases. What are the guidelines? So it summarizes what the most up-to-date guidelines for the communicable diseases are. And puts all that information in one packet, which is really very helpful. Our school nurses do meet throughout the year to make sure they are up to date, and they also, again, are in communication with the public health office for anything that's new and emerging in that area.
Dana?
Richard Matesic?
Yes.
Lucy Biegler?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Mark Friedman?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes.
Now I'd like to ask the board to approve item number 2, additional field trips as per attachment 3. Ginny? Oh, may I have a second? Ginny?
Yes,
That was her second.
Yes, I thought she was, are there any comments?
I like the new format.
Yeah, this is the format that the SIP committee received. No comments? Okay.
Rich Matesic?
Yes.
Lucy Biegler?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Mark Friedman?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes.
That's all.
All right. With that, we'll go to finance. Mark.
Okay, I'd like the board to consider finance items numbers 1 through 11. Second.
Second.
Lucy, thank you. Number 5, just, this is for the board accepting a gift from the Westfield Coalition for the Arts of $150 to McKinley School for a guest conductor to spend a day rehearsing with the 5th grade chorus. So thank you to the Westfield Coalition for the Arts. Also, one comment in addition about the bond. This is to the public. If you're not going to be in town on November 5th, you can apply for an absentee ballot by mail. The application must be received by the county clerk not later than 7 days prior to the election, which would make that October 29th. For a link to the application and for more information on the proposed referendum, please go to the district's website at www.westfieldnjk12.org/NOV bond, November bond. I think that's it. Any questions or comments?
Just one quick question on item number 1, which is the use of competitive contracting through the state procedure. That's only for items that are greater than 36,000, right?
It's only for items greater than 36,000, but it's also only for certain types of purchases.
Okay.
Like, for instance, you couldn't do that for roofs.
Okay. Do we need to spell that out in the resolution, or is it just
No, it's
by
it's-
statute? That's the way it works.
It's per statute, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Dana, please.
Rich Matesic?
Yes.
Lucy Biegler? Yes. Ann Carey?
Yes.
Mark Friedman?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes.
Anything else, Mark?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd ask the board to note the notes for the record. And that brings us to legislation. Ann.
Just to say that we will probably hope to schedule our first meeting after the election when Trenton gets back to work.
All right. Any unfinished business? Any new business?
I have some new business.
Please.
Now that we have approved the board committee policy, I think we should move legislation and technology up before the notes for the record.
Makes sense to me.
Second.
Exciting.
How long have you been thinking about that one?
I just thought of it.
Dana, is that something we can do?
Sure.
Great.
We have the record noted that Roseanne
Yes.
came up with that.
That's
No,
all.
it's after.
All right, any other new business?
No, it's down in the-
Technology
Vice
Committee
Pals.
reports, Mitch.
Not on a report other than to say we met last week, notes forthcoming. An extensive, very good meeting, and I'll be meeting with different members of the board to review some things. And we'll be meeting again soon, but really good reports from Paul Pinero, Brian Walker, Arvin, and the technology folks, so.
Great.
Report coming.
Thank you. Liaison reports, anyone?
I have a report, well, an announcement sort of for the education fund. Just to remind people that the public is invited to the Education Fund's annual Rocktoberfest. How appropriate, Rocktoberfest, right on cue. At the Crossroads, 78 North Avenue in Garwood. On Saturday, October 19th. So that's Rocktoberfest at Crossroads, 78 North Avenue in Garwood on Saturday, October 19th, beginning at 6 p.m. Come here, friends and teachers perform in 3 different bands as funds are raised to grant requests for classroom enhancements to our schools. You can purchase your tickets at westfieldnj.com/edfund or at the door. I've been to the 2 previous ones, and it really is a lot of fun.
You're playing your harp, right?
Led Zeppelin.
It won't fit in the door at Crossroads.
That's right.
Actually.
That's right.
Any other liaison reports? Ginny?
I attended Union County Ed Services Commission meeting on October 2nd.
It's Horace.
You better get a good
Breaking news.
She wants us to end.
No further report.
That's it.
Does it? Oh, okay,
I
good.
just attended.
Any other liaison reports?
Nothing happened.
All right. Very good. With that, I would recognize the public for questions and/or comments at this point on any topic. All right. Seeing no one come to the podium, we do have a brief private session tonight, so I would ask the board to approve the following resolutions. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law, personnel pending or anticipated litigation, and pending or anticipated contract negotiations. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mitch, any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We are adjourned.